Welcome back to another episode of Sync Riffs. Charles from Blue Buddha just checking in. It's April. Wanted to pop in, answer some of your guys' questions that you guys had about sync, and always like to do that and share some insights. And first off, Kayana, who I met through the Get Synced, Get Repped conference, had a question about what are the pros and cons of working with a sync agent versus pitching your songs direct to a supervisor. So a couple strategies you can employ if you're working with a sync agent. Ideally, we prefer doing exclusive deals. So what you can do is, if you choose to do a non-exclusive deal, be transparent with that sync agent. And one of the strategies, Kayana, that you kind of alluded to is signing certain songs with one sync agent, and then the other tracks are with another agency. So there's not crossover duplication. The importance of that is supervisors prefer working with one key agency as opposed to getting multiple pitches from 2-3 sync agents, which can create a lot of confusion. So that's my advice: is do your homework, study the sync agents out there, find the one that is a match fit for your music, and above all, make sure they're as passionate about your tracks as you are. So that's the best approach when it comes to working with the sync agent. And similarly, if you're pitching your songs, maybe you met some supervisors at a conference and you built a rapport with the supervisor, send them your best cuts via disco. Respect their time. They get a lot of music. And if they remember you from having met you, put a short note in there, send your cuts. And if something sticks, you'll get a call back. So I think that's the best approach there with working with a sync agent or pitching your music to a supervisor. And that dovetails a great question from a cohorts, Lanisha, who's in our Sync Like a Pro Academy. Thank you, Lanisha, for your question. Your question is, if you do have a relationship with a supervisor or a showrunner, my recommendation there is being transparent with your agent. Let them know that you might be sending some songs direct to a supervisor or a showrunner. And that way, one approach is having your sync agent follow up, touch base with that contact. And that gives added assurance from the supervisor's point of view that you have a sync agent repping and working your cuts. And it's streamlined. There's not duplication of efforts. So that is a great way to handle that approach. And checking my notes, Lanisha, the second question you had was navigating AI. So podcast that I had done in the past with Brian Ralston, a songwriter and film composer and producer. He also teaches at UCLA Extension. Check out that episode. He goes into that hour chat with all the nuts and bolts on how to navigate AI. And the excerpt is anything that's created using AI through a word prompt is not copyrightable. So when it comes to rights and paying royalties to a creator of music, if you use AI, what we're seeing with supervisors now is when you submit your music, be transparent with respect to, was any AI used in the creation of the music? And if so, in what fashion? So if it's idea generation You came up with the structure of the song using AI, and then you used real instruments, real vocals to execute the song. That is doable with respect to using AI as a tool. So in contrast, if you use AI and you took the full arrangement, the melodies, the top line, and used it in your song and tried to pitch it for sync, that can create some issues. And I point you back to the podcast with Brian Ralston, who addresses a lot of those points. So as it stands now, I know a lot of producers who will use AI to get some ideas going. And that's fine. So just be transparent when you submit a song. Let them know what fashion AI might have been used. And let's see here. Another question that had come in with respect to exclusivity and non-exclusivity. How does that work? So basically, if you're exclusive with a sync agent for the given term, that means that agency is the sole entity that is pitching your songs for film and TV. And we detail that in the Schedule A. And supervisors, when we send out your music, and if we're repping you exclusively, that is a great look. They know that we're on board, 100% vested in pitching your tracks, and no one else is going to send the same songs to them. So on the non-exclusive front, I've seen artists work with a bunch of agencies, and the downside to that from the perspective of the marketplace is it can create a lot of confusion, duplication of pitches. Supervisors are getting flooded with the same music and the same pitch. And a lot of supervisors I've spoken to over the years in my career is it's timing. If they got music that was pitched by another agent and they happen to get it in their inbox on that day, they will contact that rep. So if you're a sync agent competing with 5 other agents pitching the same music, it's not the best feeling in the world knowing things can get diluted and the efforts of the agency get overlooked. So have that conversation with your sync agent is my recommendation. And the other approach you can do, like I said earlier, is split up your library with some different sync agents. So you're not putting all your eggs in one basket, so to speak. And something I can't stress enough, and a shout out to Burt Blackerack, who we're going to have him on an upcoming listening session as part of our Sync Like a Pro Academy, is, creating value for your songs is, I'm paraphrasing, something he shared in a clip, is if you're sending out music to a supervisor, try and establish a rapport. Maybe you met them at a conference, you saw them at a panel. Send a quick follow-up note, brief intro, and send them your top 5 cuts and say, love the work you do. Here's some songs that might suit your needs, and I appreciate your time, and detail in the link the rights to your songs. Are they one-stop rep? And that way it gives them confidence knowing you did your homework, you sent them the music, and ideally follow up in a couple months per se, because supervisors and sync agents, we get a lot of emails. So the best approach is to, quote, play it cool. Your music will speak for itself. If you do have your website and your IG handle, detail that in the email. They'll take a look. And if you had any past sync history, that might be a good thing to mention. So it gives them the assurance and the confidence that you know the business side of music supervision and music licensing. We can't stress that enough. Is the creative is one half of the equation, and the other half is the clearance side. So something that we teach in our Sync Like a Pro Academy, 7-week course that we're going to reopen the enrollment for the summer, is how to navigate co-writes, split sheets, having that conversation ahead of time with your co-writers. The last thing you want to do is record a track in a session, not have anything in writing, and then have those songs pitched by a sync agent. And when it comes time to clear the song, there's nothing in writing. The song hasn't been registered with your PRO. So all those steps that need to happen before the music can be pitched by a sync agent. So it's streamlined. There's no hiccups, because quoting Madonna Wade Reed in a previous podcast she had done, shout out to Madonna, and it's a great podcast that I'll have to pull it up and put it in the link. But quote, she doesn't like surprises. Last thing is, if a supervisor takes a leap of faith to pitch a song from an indie artist they've never worked before, and they come to find out maybe there's co-writers, maybe there's samples, maybe there's a third party that has to clear 5%. So expediency is the key when it comes to pitching your songs if you're an independent artist. Supervisors, a lot of their time can be spent on trying to clear a frontline artist, which can entail multiple writers, 5 to 10 writers, 5 to 10 publishers. That can take the lion's share of their day, negotiating with those major publishers, clearing every co-writer, every publisher, because they are legally bound in their contract with the studios. So when it comes to ensuring that the music they pitch is properly cleared, that's the detail that supervisors and sync agents, we have to vet the music and ensure that smooth process. So I wanted to hop on with some brief questions, and in this episode I'm going to do part 2 in the following week. But those of you catching this podcast, if you're new to sync, you've never worked with a sync agent, post those questions in the comments below. Go.